On Friday, March 22nd, in the early eve afternoon, pilots in high security space were treated to another taste of time dilation when nearly 5,000 pilots engaged in combat and perimeter, fighting over a trio of sotios held by the Tranquility Trade Consortium. The structures had previously been attacked by members of the Imperium and their allies, and two of them were destroyed in this battle. Pandemic Horde and Fraternity formed most TTC-aligned pilots engaged in the Sotios' defense. For those unfamiliar, the Tranquility Trade Consortium is a Capsuleer-run trading alliance that managed to keep Star and Perimeter and many industrial citadels. Throughout its operation, it's maintained its trade monopoly through force, most notably high-sec mercenary groups. The TTC would hire these groups to snuff out the competition, and only their structures would remain. The TTC is cited as the primary reason for the end of the game's last massive war, World War B2, as when CCP introduced a new mechanic that reduced the flow of ISK into the TTC coffers, the attacking party was forced to call the whole thing off. Most parties involved in the war, including attackers and defenders, were members of the TTC. More than a year after World War B2, the Imperium decided to leave the group, citing political differences and complex negotiations as reasons for their departure. CCP then announced changes to upwell structures, namely Keepstars and Sotios. They could no longer be anchored in high security space. These changes ensured the present structures would be the last ones, making them incredibly valuable to have and to kill. Seeing the obvious writing on the wall, the TTC announced the unanchoring of all of their structures, starting with the Keepstar and Perimeter, the Tranquility Trading Tower. But before the structure could unanchor, the Imperium attacked it, leading to a massive battle over the Keepstar before its untimely demise on June 26th of 2023. Between then and now, the Imperium and Pandafam have fought back and forth over these structures in high security space, leading to a boiling point on Friday. The Imperium spearheaded the attack, making up more than half the pilots shooting the structures. They had about 2,300 pilots on field, outnumbering the defenders by almost 400. The strategy used by the Imperium was to leave cheap drone ships attacking the structures to their damage caps, continuously being reinforced when needed. They would then be free to use larger ships such as the Initiative's APOC Navy Fleet or Goon's Rogue Fleet to shoot the defenders. All the while, the defenders are forced to shoot the drone ships to attempt to eliminate the incoming damage to the citadels. This is an excellent strategy for attacking citadels, especially when the game's largest market is right next door for reinforcing. Including the loss of the citadels, Pandafam and the TTC lost about 230 billion ISK compared to the Imperium's 121 billion, with over 1,500 ships destroyed over 10 hours of fighting. However, the Imperium and Pandafam are the two largest groups of null security spaceholders, and this isn't just about the ISK lost in this fight. Null security players focus heavily on the metagame of EVE Online, and use various strategies to assault each other. Usually that's assaulting sovereign space or staging citadels. In this case, the attack was more economical, striking at structures not used for staging, but rather for generating passive income and the relative safety of high security space. The economy is one of the primary differences between players in the North and the South. The Northern Alliances make their money primarily from renting space to other groups that lack the strength to take space for themselves, while the Southern Alliances make their money primarily from taxes on industry, ratting, and mining, and they despise renting space. This recent action likely stemmed as a response from the announced and executed deployment of TTC-aligned forces to Curse to reinforce the Pandemic Horde offensive in the area. Though the effect of these structures being destroyed may appear to be minor, critical differences in the way the economies of these large groups operate can have enormous consequences. In the South, members hold a majority of the wealth. They mine the material, build and sell the ships, and use them in combat. Ships are purchased from players by players, along with their modules and ammunition. Though this makes the vessel more expensive in the long run, it is better for the average Alliance member's wallet. In the North, a large part of the economy is socialized, to the point where it's not uncommon to see ships handed out for free, or immediate and complete ship replacements, among other things. Because of this, a substantial amount of the available resources in space are funneled into the Alliance, which then turns the raw materials into the ships and modules needed for combat. Because the Alliance is choosing what to turn the materials into, they can ensure that specific doctrines are available when they're required, leading to a more combat-ready, albeit poorer, average member. When the Alliance's income ceases, so does that Alliance's ability to perform in combat. As the Alliance can no longer afford to buy the required materials to build the ships, that market becomes more favorable for the individual builders, increasing the cost of ships that a PvP-focused alliance can't always sustain. Since the usage of these structures was a part of the incomes of the alliances that defended them, you can be sure that the ripple effect will be felt all the way in Curse when the question of whether or not to take the next fight arises. Either way, the war for the Southeast is far from over and will likely surprise us with more and unique meta-game strategies and more big battles, and I'm sure we'll see more of that spill into low and high security space as time moves on. Stay tuned to the New Eden Post, we'll keep you informed. See you next time, and thanks for watching.